Guys, I'm here to get into a character analysis of Taxi Driver, which was directed by Martin Scorsese, released in the year 1976. And this is just Robert De Niro, one of his most complex, most interesting, layered, dimensional characters of all time. As De Niro just lives in deep isolation all throughout all this, as he's a lonely veteran of Vietnam War who drives a taxi in New York. And he just gets increasingly very disgusted by just moral decay around him. And he just essentially breaks bad in a very gradual kind of stance. This whole project kind of plays out like a Diary of a Madman, almost practically entirely from De Niro's perspective. There's only one shot that varies away from De Niro's perspective, and that's a scene with Jodie Foster and Harvey Keitel near the end. Otherwise, we're 100% De Niro's wavelength from start to practically all of it. And there's just a lot of range. I mean, there's practically a case of PTSD that is driving De Niro to just completely idealize Jodie Foster as she's gradually descending into violent psychosis. And he just perceives himself as De Niro perceives himself as a loner despite all the psychopathy and contradictions going on. And De Niro's just in a very isolated and perceptive sort of position. He's unable to form any sort of connection with other people despite being in a busy city that's always surrounded by other people. He's just in an extraordinarily lonely position, which escalates to an extent that's so profound that it fuels into a desperate need to have a purpose and desire in life, which just feels like it's to serve a purpose to the world. And his own negative views just kind of warp his ability from being down to earth in any sort of way about it. He's a guy who's kind of dangerously too out of touch with reality, ultimately. And his own negative views end up kind of warping him. As De Niro just increasingly feels disgusted by the decay of the city around him as he perceives everything by way of taxi driving. He idolizes Sybil Shepherd as a pure, untouched angel amongst the city's corruption. And this is all from De Niro's perception as his complex narrative reveals itself in many different shades. Like he hates all any kind of sex work. Yet he did business pornography theater a lot. De Niro's just yearning for this kind of sincere sort of connection. Yet he remains in complete isolation through all of it. And then the perceived violence balanced with an ability to find a sense of purpose in life, and it just embraces him as an inner warrior as he adopts three different hairstyles throughout the film, which represents his shift in art. His hair starts off very floppy in the melancholic stages at the beginning. Gets accrued out as he's more frustrated in the second part, and then he builds up to a mohawk. She's just ready to take charge completely. You have Jodie Foster. Foster's very street smart, childlike, and navigating the world that she's entirely too young for. And that's what De Niro has so much sympathy for. She's literally too young to be in this sort of harsh environment. So De Niro takes an extended desire to take charge about changing something about her life, and this connection with Harvey Keitel just feels completely wrong and awful throughout. She seems to have all these mixed feelings about De Niro taking action, and she sees this mixed blessing ultimately as there's great intentions in there, and it's also too damaging towards her life. What he goes for, it seems like Foster takes a lot of pride in her streetwise personality and accepts any sort of belonging as it's offered in the prostitution world. Foster just conveys plenty of emotional authenticity around all of this. And then Sybil Shepherd's just this pure, little purity and hope for De Niro is extended to this third isolation of the melancholic stages. She's a glimpse of the world that De Niro would ideally like to cleanse. Although her rejection of De Niro after he takes her to the porno theater night with naivete underlines his inability to just really connect with any sort of normalcy in life, which strongly fuels his descent into violence. It's like it gets misguided slowly but surely. This is kind of a slow-paced way of depicting how the character, such a character, can get misguided. And these characters kind of Shepherd and Foster and Shepherd are kind of the main forces in De Niro's. Like it's like, well, with these two in the world, but it just he's the only ones he needs. But he's also in just the wrong environment altogether. And Harvey Keitel just perfectly represents the kind of scum that De Niro feels complete hatred for in this kind of film. He's a stark contrast to De Niro's naivete. And Peter Boyle's just a minor, significant figure towards De Niro's arc as well, because there's a scene where he's offering De Niro all kinds of wisdom and stories, accepting and trying to kind of get him to just accept cynicism in life, which contributes to De Niro just going further mad and warped. He doesn't really take it. Well, they usually eat at the same diner, and it seems like they must often go to each other for advice or when they're searching for something of an existential crisis. And it's a really complex, layered sort of character. And she's just, this is just a completely warped, original kind of character study from start to finish.